Michelle Gates stayed in. This is a house that Ruth Ann stayed in, O'Neill. So the story starts from these two houses right here. Now the two homes I just showed you, the story begins here in Portland, Oregon, in the Hawthorne district, 1980. There was a girl, she's about 11, maybe almost 13. Her name was Michelle Gates. Now what she did was, she had a neighbor, her name was Ruth Ann. She was about 4. I guess apparently the night before, there was about 10 inches of water that filled a little play pool outside in Michelle Gates' backyard. So Miss Ruth Ann comes over to play with Michelle Gates. Michelle Gates drowns her face first in that water in the actual little play pool in her own backyard. Then threw her body off into the neighboring fence, over the fence into the backyard of a neighboring house behind Michelle's house. So later on, Michelle Gates goes to the Oregon Zoo out here in Oregon. She has a cousin, little boy cousin, and she pushes him off into a duck pond. Now, he, of course, drowns in the duck pond. Now she's killed 2 kids. She goes to trial, and the judge ends up setting her free, saying that she can't be trialed as an adult because she's still a minor. And also, the police that arrested her did not read her Miranda rights. Wow, that's deep. So today's story starts off with a murder of a 13-year-old girl named Michelle Gates. The house I just showed you, the 2 homes, Michelle Gates and Ruth Ann was a little girl, which was 4 years old, that she drowned in her own backyard in a pool. So that's starting the story off. More to come. Stay tuned. So Mr. Wade here. So now I'm at a cemetery called Lone Fir Cemetery out here in Portland, Oregon. And the story that me and Mrs. Crime are bringing you guys today is about Gates. Her name is Michelle Gates. She was a 13-year-old that was accused of murdering 2 younger children. One of them being a neighbor, another one being her nephew. Now, what she did was she lived with her grandparents in a neighboring house to Ruth Ann O'Neill. Now, Ruth Ann O'Neill was 4 years old. And basically what she did was, the night before, it was a rainy night, and Michelle Gates in her backyard had a little wading pool that was, I guess, might have filled up with 10 inches of water. Well, the next day, she goes and play with the 13-year-old, Michelle Gates, and Michelle Gates puts her face in the water, face first, and drowns her in her own backyard and throws her body off into the neighboring backyard. Wow. So basically, she later on, after she got arrested for that, because the mom of Ruth Ann thought that her little girl had just left for a corner store. Now, who goes to a corner store at 4 years old? But her mom thought that. But of course, that's not what happened, of course. So basically, Ruth Ann was murdered by Michelle Gates. And this is Portland news, right? Portland, Oregon, this is one of their biggest news for that time, 1980. Now, basically what happened is she goes to court, police arrest Michelle Gates, 13-year-old. What happened was she couldn't be tried as an adult at the age of 13. But basically she was also acquitted. The judge of the trial let her go because the police didn't give her Miranda rights. Okay. So it took 9 months of going back to court from the prosecution, defense attorney winning some things. It took 9 months to get her not being able to coexist with other kids. You know, she was mental disorder, and they put her out in Maine, court ordered, a school for disturbed children. She goes out to Maine and she stays there till she's approximately 18, 19. She comes back over to Oregon and she wanted to get her murders expunged. So basically, she admits, and due to research and talking to other people in her family, her great-grandfather stated that she was taught as a child, if you're sad and to make life better, kill somebody. That's right. To make life better, just go out and just kill somebody. That's a great way to raise a kid, right? Wow. So she wanted to get her murders expunged, which means that anything below 18, she can't be tried for no more. She won that case, and eventually later on, the state, of course, ended up making that non-accessible, saying that you no longer can do that. What if you get charged for as a murder or exactly cannot be just closed off because you're over 18. I like that. So remember when I said that she was blamed for 2 murders? Well, the time of Ruth Ann, that wasn't her first murder. Her second murder was her own nephew. I'm gonna post his name on here as well. But she went to the Oregon Zoo with him and she pushed him off into a duck pond and he drowned. That was her second murder. Wow. So basically what happened is she got her murders expunged, which means she can't be tried for anything below 18. So at the age of 20, 25, 26, she did some jail time, of course. And the reason why she did jail time is because they got her on different charges, and she did for years. And at 25, she got married to a guy, last name of Leland. He had an ex-wife that, of course, she did not like because the ex-wife talked a lot of mess about her and about what she did in Portland and killed, her 2 murders and everything like that. So Miss Michelle didn't like that. So Leland wanted custody of his kid, of his son. So what Miss Gates then became Miss Leland, she decided to go ahead and have her murdered, tried to get her murdered. So basically during this time, she's 25, 26. So what she did was she decided to go ahead and try to get her murdered and get her house burned down so that her husband, Mark Leland, can have custody of the son. That's a sick way of doing things, but that's what she decided to do. And she put out to do it. So basically, she had a guy, a hitman, that she decided to go ahead and talk with. It was at a place called the Mark 29, I think, hotel out here in Portland, Oregon. She met up with him and said that she wanted him to go to her house, shoot her and her new husband, and make sure, because she read stories about how people survive after one shot, to shoot both of them twice, especially her. So what she did was she orchestrated this hit. Unfortunately, the guy went to the lady's house, and her husband were on vacation. So he attempted, or he did, burn down the house, of course. But he ended up admitting all this to the police. That's how she got caught up and went to jail for this. So this is her second time going to prison, and she did some time for this, for attempted murder of her husband then's ex-wife and new husband. Wow, Michelle Gates is something else. Wow. So to top everything off, Mr. Wade does his research. Basically, Mrs. Crime liked the story as well. So she's now living with her husband, Mark Cleveland. And this is out towards Corvallis, Oregon. Her grandfather, or her dad, or grandfather, great-grandfather, decides that somehow him and her new husband had a problem, a beef, okay? So he drives over to their house, takes his gun, and shoots the husband in the face. Shoots the husband in the face. The bad part is that Michelle was like so oblivious to the situation, like it didn't even bother her, is what bystanders were saying. It's like she might have expected this, or she saw it coming, whatever, but she didn't seem faded about the situation at all. So of course, the great-grandfather goes, might have been the dad, I think, but he goes to prison for that. He admits it to it. He admits that he was being bullied by this husband of his daughter or granddaughter, and he didn't like it, so he ended up going over there and shooting him in the face. Wow. Family something else. So, this is Michelle Gates' story. Her bio, why she is so sadistic with killing. So, before 1980, I guess, her grandmother and great-grandfather, grandmother and step-grandfather, she lived with as a kid. Okay. So basically, the great-grandfather came home and saw his daughter, Michelle's mother, was in bed with a guy in her room. So he assumed that she was prostituting and shot and killed her in the house. Wow. Now with the research, trying to find graves, as me and Mrs. Crime does, Tombstone Whispers was looking for the nephew's grave of Michelle Gates and the grave of Ruth Ann O'Neill. Couldn't find Ruth Ann O'Neill nowhere online. It doesn't state. I need to look more, probably. The nephew, we found his grave. He was about 3 or 4 years old. And definitely, his grave is at a cemetery that we've been to as Tombstone Whispers. But it's unmarked. And I'm doing some research to find that. Hope you guys enjoyed this story. It's a big news out here in Portland around that time, 1980. Michelle Gates is still living. I looked to see if she had a grave, but she's still living. Definitely, this is a deep story. But we researched and found this. I hope you guys enjoy this video to you guys, showing you our research and skills. It could be better. Our cemetery visits are getting better. Thank you to all our subscribers out there. Always a thank you. And right now we're at the Lone Fir Cemetery And I picked this cemetery to come out here and do the story of Michelle Gates, Michelle Leland, and another name she went by. 3 last names she had total in her life. And I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Stay tuned for more. So I hope you guys enjoyed our video on Michelle Gates and what she did and everything like that. Thank you to all our subscribers out there. I'm Mr. Wade and
Mrs. Crime.
And we definitely enjoy you guys watching our videos, and our hard work is paying off. Many more to come, you guys. Stay tuned for more Tombstone Whispers. Stay tuned.